Today we're going to go underground. We're going to follow the River Sheaf from just on the edge of the city centre right through to the edge of the castle site, which is the development site that I've been writing about recently. So the Sheaf River runs right through the city centre, and it's only really visible to people at certain points there. So lots of the river runs underground, and a local trust is doing tours to take people down there and understand that a little bit better.
We've got waders, you can wade through the middle as well, that's fine. So if you just don't care about getting wet, we can do that as well.
On the small amounts of public consultation that they did do around the castle site, there was an overwhelming preference from the public to have that part of the river opened up. And I think exciting for people to get that little glimpse, because I think a lot of people don't know that there's a river running directly underneath them, which really is like the birthplace of the city.
Oh, what do you reckon? What do you think it might be? It's a crucible. So there used to be loads of little mini forges all the way up and down the Sheaf, and at the end of it they just throw their crucibles that had been used too many times into the river, and they were done with it. So everyone good? Yeah?
There's a sense of maybe sort of holding a mirror up to the city and saying, oh, it's great stuff that's happening. We're always interested in kind of covering underground things literally and metaphorically. We started out as an events collective, and we decided to start publishing a magazine. The kinds of music we were hosting was underground music, and things that weren't getting the sort of attention that we thought they should. And I think that's what we're trying to do with Now Then generally, is to raise that understanding and to kind of make people kind of stop and think about where they live and feel more of a sense of connection with the city as well. I think the other aspect of it is around making decision making as visible as possible and trying to be part of the process. And I think there's a sort of quantum effect of that, by observing decision makers we actually change their behaviour, and I don't think it's being done enough with the sort of collapse of legacy newspapers in particular. But I do think that more and more decision makers in Sheffield are starting to take notice of what we're doing. And quite often that's about protection and celebration of what we've got, really. And I think it's hard to kind of argue against that, maybe.
They call themselves Sheffield Against the Policing Bill, so SAPB. It sounds like a bird charity. And they're also like an organisation that are anonymous, and they have like no hierarchy, nobody knows who they are, just like body of people.
I did criminology at uni, and I do like the more longer form pieces that kind of take a bit longer to do and kind of more research behind it. So that's why I love what I do at Now Then, because I get to follow the stories that I want to, which is usually kind of focusing on racialised communities and kind of marginalised communities, and kind of telling their stories, like this story that didn't make the rounds in local media too much, but is incredibly important to tell. Like, I worked for the government for a bit, did not enjoy it at all. I left, and I just decided, and I didn't really enjoy the research side of things, as in like kind of dedicating kind of years of your life to one particular topic. I think with kind of investigative journalism, I really enjoy that kind of the research side of things and talking to people. You peel back layers, and then you like, oh, well, I've got to that bit. So it's kind of not like solving a puzzle, but kind of like you're putting things together, and then you form a story, and then you read it, and you're like, wow, okay, so this is how it's happened from A to B.
We're talking about defending the right of nurses and care workers to fight for a pay rise.
It won't be a long article. It'll be just kind of like a news report style article, like people met in Barker's Pool, so-and-so organisations came, like So basically just go through kind of who's been saying what they were talking about. Like I'll mention like disabled rights, migrant rights, trans rights, and just kind of tell people about what happened here today. Because a lot of people still don't know about this bill and still don't know what it's going to do. I think as journalists, people do need to kind of, be a part of this and stand with people, because this isn't just a political issue. This is just a plain human rights issue and a civil rights issue. And I would feel like I was doing myself a misjustice if I wasn't kind of writing about this and attending these protests, especially as a lot of journalists don't. Yeah, there's a lot of parts of this bill that will bring a lot of people together, and hopefully this will form a basis for bigger solidarity movements. This is why I come to most of these and I want to write about it. And if people say I'm not neutral, then I'm fine with that. I know that I'm giving them a platform, which is what they need.
I do tend to believe in what the protests are doing, what they stand for. But I do go with my journalist hat on, so I'll be there kind of taking notes or taking photos or videos. But yeah, I don't tend to get too involved in what's actually happening on the ground, just so I can, not detach, but kind of be able to step back and see if there's both sides, see both sides, or kind of be able to be somewhat neutral in some ways.
Are you from Sheffield?
I am, yeah, and I haven't been for a while. It's
Right.
the first one since April, I think.
It is the first. There were some protests in the parks, in 3 parks, about a month ago.
I also think they do deserve the attention as well, because they don't always get the attention, and they do have something to say, and I do think people need to hear that. But with something like Kill the Bill, that's as not anti-government, but that's kind of saying you are doing something wrong. And I think with the bigger publications, they tend to tread quite a fine line, and they don't want to kind of rock the boat too much. And I think with journalism, sometimes you do need to do that, because that is a huge story, and you not telling that story is doing a disservice to the public.